there are some weapons in FPS games that just find themselves going from literal zeros to heroes overnight, you know? There's, some kind of balance pass or change in the game's gunplay, and while you can't make sense of it, it just completely transforms a gun that has it going from painfully average to the cream of the crop. That is exactly what happened to the M277 carbine lately. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our weapon review of the M277 carbine in Battlefield 6, a true dark horse of the arsenal that I have absolutely fallen in love with over the past couple of days. Today we're going to dive right into the stats of the weapon and its performance, talk about its pros and cons, and then finally wrap up with some attachment setups to take it to the next level. As always, if you're enjoying the series so far, be sure to leave a like on the video and get subscribed so you never miss a future one. But formalities aside, let's get straight into the review here and start talking all things M277. As is tradition, guys, we're going to start off with the damage numbers here, and on this carbine, if you've been watching my series for a while now, or have done some, reading on the weapon damage statistics yourselves, you would think that there was a typo on the graphic here, because something just doesn't look right, doesn't it? That being, where the hell are the mid-range damage tiers? But no, your eyes do not deceive you, folks, and the graphic is in fact correct. The M277 holds and retains its maximum damage value of 25 damage per shot all the way out to 75 meters, only dropping one tier of damage to a minimum of 20 beyond the 75 meter mark accordingly. And just like that, right out of the bat here, if you were wondering, just what is the special party piece of this weapon here, we found it. This weapon holds practically no damage drop-off in every range of engagement that you will realistically find yourself using it in. And because of that, right off the rip here, this makes the M277 one of the most consistent and dominant weapon platforms in the game right now in the medium range world, because if you can hit your shots and keep your aim true, where other weapons are going to start losing their bite and their punch due to damage fall off, the M277 is going to keep hitting as though it is still within its close quarters slugfest. And that is a benefit that quite simply cannot be understated in a game like Battlefield 6 that really encourages a more slower paced form of gameplay. Headshot wise, this also means that the M277 carries a potential 3-shot kill all the way out to that 75 meter mark if you score those headshots. Once again, this kind of potential consistency is crazy in the Battlefield 6 weapon ecosystem and makes this thing a real slugger in that medium range engagement distance. But of course, what does it mean from a time to kill perspective? Well, take the M277's rate of fire of 720 rounds per minute, we are left with a 250 millisecond time to kill all the way out to that 75 meter range and a 413 millisecond time to kill beyond that 75 meter range. Of course, these stats are entirely theoretical and assume a 100% body shot accuracy, a true utopian vision of the world there, but make no mistake, guys, while the weapon is far from the deadliest in the arsenal in the CQC domain, it makes up for this by making the M277 one of the deadliest mid-range operators in Battlefield 6 bar none. A potential 250 millisecond time to kill at, say, 30 or even 40 meters completely out DPSs most of the expected competition in this field of engagement, and it slaughters anything that is specifically designed for close quarters combat, which is why you're seeing a lot of people swear by this thing at the moment. It can hold its own in CQC, sure, but as soon as you are, moving from objective to objective or from building to building, it comes alive in a way that very few can compete with. Now, like all weapons that hold somewhat outstanding or out of this world damage performance metrics in one way or another, there is always going to be a bit of a catch in the handling perspective, which reels the weapon back down to earth. And surprise, surprise, we have that here as well with the M277. Despite only featuring a 20 round magazine by default and therefore having less shots for me to record on our recoil graphic, we are very comfortably pushing the limits of the red sector on my recoil chart. And that also comes as a result of some pretty hefty vertical and horizontal recoil kick per shot, with an extremely bruisey kick to the right as well. There's instances of some rounds grouping nicely here, but as you guys can see, there's also times where the weapon just seems to kick extra violently for a shot or two, which throws a real spanner into the works as far as the weapon's consistency goes. It really adds a sense of challenge challenge to master the weapon. Thankfully, the bloom under a full burst isn't too horrible, but it's certainly enough to be a factor in those extended ranges as well. Hipfire-wise, we aren't dealing with anything special here either. In fact, out of the box, it's pretty sloppy, and given that we're dealing with a sub-optimal time to kill for close quarters distances as well, yeah, it's probably best to avoid the hipfire like the plague, at least when you start off with the weapon on a default build. Reload and ammo-wise, as we said before, we've got a 20-round mag, which means we've got 168 rounds in the reserve, all of which is reloaded in 2.38 seconds. Far from a sluggish reload time, actually, and while a 20-round mag sounds restrictive, you've got to remember that we have an almost always guaranteed 4-shot kill here, which actually makes for a really solid magazine efficiency to boot. More on that later. Wrapping up the weapon, we've got a baseline ADS speed of 167 milliseconds, which is a good spot for a carbine, and a 624 meters per second muzzle velocity, which again kind of plays very nicely into this weapon's medium range sweet spot, if you were to call it that. But right, that right there, guys, is the M277 from top to bottom. And yeah, look, this is a weapon that well and truly came alive out of the gunplay changes that fixed a lot of the weapon dispersion bugs that launched with the game. Obviously, the M277's character, and quite frankly its entire personality, is defined by its ability to extend that maximum damage range out to just a ludicrous distance. But you can't exactly take advantage of that stat if the game just randomly decides to flip you off with some sloppy weapon accuracy as a result of a bug. So now that that is no longer an issue, holy shit, the M277 is genuinely in a league of its own for medium range combat. Seriously, after getting used to weapons who start to lose a lot of their bite the moment you leave spitting distance, it's refreshing as hell to land shots accurately at certain medium ranges and still have targets fold like an omelette. More satisfying than I would care to admit, actually. The dopamine release and the neuron activation that this weapon gives me is quite frankly criminal. So much so to the point where it may become a restricted narcotic. But this, of course, doesn't come easy. The M277 demands respect and precision to make this dream happen. So you really, and I do mean really, need to get a hand on fanning the trigger with this weapon. It's not like the DRS IR that we reviewed last time, where you can get a bit lazier with that trigger discipline and just sort of beam people at distances. The M277 will punish you for letting it get the better of you. But if you do find the flow state and get those bursts going, it'll almost feel like your crosshair is barely moving and, well, enemies, they're just going to drop before their sensors even register that they were taking fire at such a distance. The thing I really had to keep in mind while using this weapon as well is that the thing performs at its best when you do take a couple of steps back. While the recoil pattern out of the box actually kind of encouraged you to really close the gap and get into people's faces here, we do have to remember that 250 millisecond time to kills in close quarters is actually pretty weak for the Battlefield ecosystem. And once again, as a slightly more aggressive player, I was promptly reminded to stop acting like a coked up fiend and to start acting like I actually had a healthy grasp on life preservation skills. As soon as I did that, and as soon as I started focusing on playing to the M277's strengths here, my god, the thing started to slap. But ultimately, all of this is actually very good. We have a very solid advantage as to why you should use the M277, and a couple of very clear, dare I say, addressable problems that get in the way of that. Perfect. It's time to get in some attachment setups here. Today, I've got 3 builds for the weapon for you guys to enjoy in-game, and I've got to be honest with you, 2 of them are serious picks that play very much into the weapon's strengths in different ways, depending on your playstyle, and the other, well, that's my more aggressive ADHD-fueled inner psycho winning the argument and wanting to have a say in this video, so that's a little fun bonus for you guys too. Starting off with my first build for the video here, I call this sort of my frontliner, sort of M277 build. The kind of class that isn't too concerned about flanking and is just going to be on the front line, pushing objectives while maintaining a certain distance while doing it, and being able to do it comfortably. We're running a Miniflex 1.0 sight, the 13-inch heavy prototype barrel, the flash hider, the classic vertical grip, 25-round fast mag, the mag catch, and the FMJ ammo. And from top to bottom, guys, the whole point of this build here is, once again, just to be a trooper in the army. Obviously, suppressors in this game are the key pick for a lot of people who prefer a flanking playstyle, which is normally myself included, but if I'm just sort of acting as a cog in the wheel here with this kind of kit, all I do is I equip the flash hider, which keeps me from being 3D spotted whenever I fire my gun, and it helps me to sort of blend in while the people who are playing playing more aggressively, hold the front line and kind of act as the spearhead, and I'm sort of bringing up the rear here with the M277, slowly picking away at targets at that more medium distance. The classic vertical grip here does absolute wonders in making the recoil just that little bit more consistent, and on top of that, the 25 round fast mag and the mag catch combination actually does wonders for not only improving your uptime between reloads, but also making your reloads extremely snappy. This gets you down to a sub 2-second reload time, which if you're pushing front lines and really need to maintain a degree of pressure on your enemies, this kind of combination does absolute wonders for that. Honestly, this build is just a frontliner kit that kind of lets you blend in with the crowd that is your team and slowly act as the absolute brute force that picks away at enemies as, you know, they're focused on your teammates. It's really powerful, and in all honesty, you're kind of hiding in plain sight the whole time you're using it. Seriously, give this kit a go. It does absolute wonders. But we all know me as well, guys. I have to have a build that means that I can just go on monumental flanks here, stay off the minimap, and just pick away at targets at my own pace. This right here is the build that I use for that exact purpose, and I call it the Silent Scalpel. Here, we're actually running iron sights at the 1.50 times magnification, the 16-inch heavy extended barrel, the light and suppressor, the low-profile stubby grip, which is the 45-point stubby grip, the 20-round mag, and the FMJ ammunition. And as you guys can tell here, we're actually running a really light-on build here that is quite top-heavy into two individual attachments, being, of course, the suppressor and the low-profile stubby grip. These accounting for 75 points alone of your weapons kit setup. And quite frankly, this entire kit is defined by two real things: finding a flank, sitting at medium range, and using the improved recoil accuracy that is granted by you really maxing your points into those two attachments to beam people at medium range and to stay off the minimap doing it. I'll tell you guys, the amount of times I've gotten into a diabolical position where enemies just simply do not expect me and I can just sit there scalpeling targets one by one here is too far to count. And while yes, we do sacrifice a lot of things like reload speed and a clearer sight picture, the iron sights in this gun are actually quite clean. I find them quite easy to use, all things considered. And the sacrifice on reload time here is exclusively down to the fact that you are going to be playing at your own pace, not the enemy's pace here. The way in which this loadout really comes to life is you dictating the pace of engagement, making sure that you're, you know, moving between flanks and trying to, you know, keep enemies guessing and giving yourself that time to get through that slightly longer reload time, which again, you should be able to do because a lot more of that positional power and the pacing of how this is going to work is in your hands with this setup and given how often you're going to stay off the minimap here. So yeah, for my flanker boys out there, this is the kit for you. Seriously, give it a whirl. It actually works absolute wonders here. But as I said, guys, we're not done here yet. I actually do have one more build for you guys today here, and it's a bit of a diabolical setup that I really wasn't expecting to suggest here, but there was something about it. I was testing it out just out of pure curiosity, and it worked to a point where I just had to share it. This is my hipfire M277 build here, rocking a 50 milliwatt green laser, the 13-inch factory barrel, the flash hider, the folding vertical grip, the 25 round fast mag, the mag catch, and the flashlight. And look, yeah, I'll be honest, this is a meme pick because honestly, the close quarters, you know, TTK of this weapon isn't worth actually building a hipfire build for on it. Like, once again, the stats of this thing don't encourage you to do this, and quite frankly, I'm kind of trying to fit a square peg through a round hole here. But I can't deny that when I tested it out of curiosity, it did work more than I expected it to, and you are going to lose out to every CQC orientated gun in the game as you try this. But as you guys can see in the background gameplay, yeah, the hipfire accuracy is tight and accurate enough to the point that, yeah, it kind of slaps. It has no business being as fun as it is, and again, if you really want to take this weapon seriously, you should not be using this at all. But it kind of occurred to me that it would be rude of me not to include this as a suggestion given how much fun I had with it, so I figured someone out there may want to give this a go just for the laugh, and well, why not share it around, right? As I said, a bit of a meme build, and what better way to end today's weapon review than with a meme build. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the M277 weapon review here today. I've had an absolute ball using this thing in Battlefield 6, and it's actually going to be one of my mainstays in my arsenal going forward. If you guys did enjoy today's video, be sure to backhand the like button. Let me know in the comment section down below what your thoughts are on the weapon so far, especially post-update, and leave a comment down below with what weapon you'd like me to review next. Until next time, guys, peace out, and I will see you guys all in the next one. Take care. Have a good one, my friends.